Today I'm going to be installing the carburetors finally, because this piece finally arrived. It was really hard to find them, but they're to block off the reed valve and the air suction valve. I had to order the part from a 1997 Vulcan 500. I tried a few different websites, and for the 93 they kept telling me that they discontinued them, they don't make them anymore. Then finally I found a website where they did have them before the 97, and yeah, I'm going to use this instead. So I got my filters, got my tools, got my manual, and we're set to go. Okay, so the valve that we're going to be removing is this one and this one. I'm going to put this on top of there to seal it. What this is for is for emissions control and stuff like that. It makes the bike run a little leaner, and since there's no inspection in New Jersey, I can technically do this. There you have it, blocked off reed valve. How we do. Alright, now I'm going to reattach the carburetors. I blocked off the vacuum tube that went to the right carburetor because it was part of the reed valve system, air suction system, and it's unnecessary, so I just bought this plug. It's a actual manufacturer part that you could get off of the schematics on websites and stuff, where you buy the actual OEM things. So I got it on there. Just tighten it up a bit. Okay, that should be fine. Loosen this up a little bit and tighten it down. Okay, now that's set up. This tube will go to the fuel tank, and this tube goes to the overflow valve. That's back here. It's by the battery. There it is. Alright, pull these guys out. No need for them anymore. Position these rubber things. Position those things. Wow, that was pretty easy compared to when the air box was on here. Take the overflow hose and just shove it onto the rest of it. Make sure that it's still running down to the bottom. That should be good enough. Just position it right. Make sure it's not touching the battery leads. Cut the label. No need for that anymore. Now we've got to tighten these things to hold the carburetors in place. I want them nice and tight on there because there's no gearbox holding up the carburetors anymore. They're just kind of hanging off of this. I might zip tie them just for some added safety, like zip tie them from the bracket that holds them together to the frame or something. Either way, it'll be under the seat or the fuel tank, so you won't even see it. Alright, now it's time to put the new filters on. Pretty much just pop them on here, tighten this down. Alright, so they're all hooked up. They look pretty nice. One thing you want to check is the throttle. You want to be sure that when the throttle is fully closed, that the valve in there is all the way up, that there's no give, or that it's not pulling. And when you turn the throttle all the way, you want to make sure that when you release, it snaps back to the start. So all the way and release. Also, when you pull the throttle, you want to make sure that that reaches the bottom all the way down, that there's no more, like, so you push this down when you give throttle, and you want to make sure that it reaches the bottom of its movement when you turn it. Alright, so now I put the fuel tank back on. The next thing to do is to take the hose that comes off the bottom here and put it on the suction valve over here, or the suction, whatever. You know what I'm saying. You just put it right on there. I'm not going to worry about clipping it down because I'm going to be pulling off the tank to paint it soon. I'm just doing this to rejet the carbs and synchronize the carbs, so that way once I do that, I don't have to worry about anything else other than rewiring the rear lights and painting the gas tank. Just give it a quick look around, make sure everything's connected right, and then let's start her up. Alright, so the first thing to do when synchronizing the carbs is to run the bike until operating temperature, normal operating temperature. It says to make sure that the idle speed is correct. To adjust the idle speed, it's this knob right there. You turn it to increase it or decrease your idle speed. The normal idle for this bike is, I think, 1200 RPM, just about, a little over 1000 RPM. So yeah, I'm gonna start with that. Let it run and warm up. Alright, so I ran the bike until it was warmed up. What you want to do is take off the fuel tank. You got to calibrate the Sync Pro or whatever you're using. You could even use a tube on a 2x4 piece of wood with like oil or water in there. But yeah, you calibrate it by taking all these hoses, plugging it into the main carburetor, onto the suction valve. Alright, once this is connected, you're going to want to start the bike up, make sure that it's at the proper idle speed. And now you want these all to be equal. Leveled, they're synchronized. You turn it off. You unplug the small hose from there, and we're only going to be using the first two hoses because there's only two carburetors. Obviously, these we'll just throw over there. So the first one I'm putting on the main carburetor. The second hose goes on to the second carburetor right here. Okay. This tiny screw right here adjusts the synchronization between the two carburetors. So as you're watching this, you adjust this screw, and when you see it level off here, you just blip the throttle a little bit, like a slight turn. You don't want to do too much or else it'll suck out all the fluid from in here. And then it'll reposition, and as long as it returns to being equal, you're good. Alright. They're not level, but just flip the throttle to make sure. They're almost there. This one's pulling a little bit more than the left one. Changed. Pretty good. So they're synchronized now. You're going to check it a couple times, make sure. There you have it. Just another comment. This filter here is for the crankcase breather. There used to be a little tube that goes to the air box, from there to the air box right here, and you know, without the air box, you need to put a filter on there. Technically, what I should do and what I will eventually do is get a hose that kind of separates this. I might even use the original hose that goes there to the air box and just put this filter at the end, because sometimes oil comes out of there whenever it gets past the engine and so on. Yeah, so if you're going to remove the air box, you have to put a filter on there. On the 93 Vulcan, I believe you need a 5/8 inch filter to go on there. Alright, so she's coming along. Now I just need to wait for the clear coat paint that I ordered to finish painting the rear fender, and I have to start working on the gas tank and these dents on both sides. I'm gonna wait until I can ride it around to mess with the fuel air mixture. I'm gonna have to take it for a ride and check the spark plugs and so on. Yeah, so let me start her up. So what she sounds like.